All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the one and only Wrestling Otaku channel, your personification of excellence on YouTube and YWC, and I'm back. It is now it's officially Wednesday, late night, past 2 a.m. here, Wednesday, October the 8th, 2025. So hope you all are having a good one. Um, you know, I'm doing all right, I guess, just hanging in here. But anyway, wanted to go ahead and do a quick video while I'm thinking about it because I want to, again, get back to doing the regular, content, stuff like that. I got the next few days off, so hopefully I'll use that time to obviously rest up and, of course, give you guys some more content. There's a few things I want to just briefly discuss in regards to some NFL news. Not necessarily like, well, there's going to be one thing it relates to the Ravens. I'm not like necessarily because at this point, like I said before, they're done. They're done. They're a lost cause. 1-4. They're likely going to be 1-5 after this upcoming week. They played the Rams before their bye week. They're likely going to lose that game. Lamar Jackson's not playing. They got Cooper Rush, who fucking sucks ass. They got a defense that fucking literally and historically, like statistically speaking, the worst defense they've ever had. It's like Jesus Christ. These guys are fucking. They're dead in the water, man. It's just like it's a lost cause. It doesn't matter when Lamar comes back. It doesn't matter when these guys come back. They're just fucking done. They're not doing shit. So there's no point getting invested. But I just had a few things I want to talk about. want to talk about real quick. Excuse me. There's a few things I want to cover. First off, there was the news that Joe Flacco has been traded from the Browns to the Bengals, which I just find kind of funny because Joe Flacco was the opening starter, and then he got benched recently. He played like the Browns' first 4 games, and then he got benched in favor of Dylan Gabriel or somebody, and the Browns ended up losing, of course. So they're 1-4 too. But Joe Flacco, the story being Joe Flacco has been traded from the Cleveland Browns to the Cincinnati Bengals. So from one AFC North division rival to another AFC North division rival who they no longer have their starter Joe Burrow, who's out for however long. So will Joe Flacco be playing for the Bengals? Like will he be starting the season? That's kind of the question because the Bengals' current starter, I think his name is Jake Browning. He's not doing shit. So it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be funny as hell if they have Joe Flacco start. He begins the year starting for the Browns, and then he ends up like starting for the Bengals. It's like that's like Jesus Christ. Like Joe Flacco's being like passed around like a used condom. But yeah, Joe Flacco's my guy, man. But it's just like you want to see. You want to see. I want to see Joe Flacco do well. But we'll see what happens, I guess. But well, yeah, so we'll see what Flacco does if they decide to actually use him in Cincinnati. And then the other story, this one it pertains to the Ravens, and that is the news that Odafe Oweh has officially been traded from the Ravens to the Chargers in exchange for a safety. I forget what the dude's name is, Aloha Gibson or something. I can't remember the dude's name, but I know he's a safety. And the Ravens trade Odafe Oweh to the Chargers. In exchange, they get this guy, the safety Gibson, and a 5th-round draft pick from the for next year's draft from the Chargers. So Odafe Oweh ends up basically being a more or less a complete bust. I mean, he had a solid enough season last year. I think he had like 10 sacks they mentioned, but this year he hasn't had any production at all. Like I knew from the start, like when the Ravens first drafted him, because at that point they didn't really need any outside linebackers, and they drafted this guy. I think first round, second round, back in 2021. And ever since then, he has not lived up to the hype that he had when he was drafted. He was drafted out of Penn State, again, first round. I'm pretty sure it was like, because I think the Ravens selected 2 first-round picks that year. And the guy just never really did anything. He just never lived up to the hype. And that's kind of like the unfortunate trend that the Ravens have had when it comes to drafting like pass rushers or outside linebackers. You got Odafe Oweh, you got this guy, what's his name? The guy who they drafted out of Michigan a couple years ago in the second round. What was his name? Fucking David Ojabo. Yeah, he's another one. Injury prone, hasn't really done anything. So it's just like it's not a big loss. I mean, again, the Ravens defense is fucked at this point. Either way, but yeah. So Odafe Oweh gets traded to the Chargers, and wish him well in his future endeavors, I guess. But yeah, regardless of the moves that the Ravens make, they're not doing shit this year, so it doesn't really matter. And also another thing worth noting that I just thought of, they also signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, safety, to their practice squad, and based on what happens, he may be called up to obviously the Ravens, their main roster, their 53-man roster, depending on what they do with this guy who they got from L.A. But yeah, it's like, looking at it as a whole, it's like it doesn't really do anything in the grand scheme of things in terms of the Ravens, because they ain't doing shit this year. The defense is terrible. They got all these injuries, guys getting injured every damn week. Lamar Jackson is out. Ronnie Stanley is out again. Kyle Hamilton is out. Roquan Smith is out for however long. Like I said, Montebique is out for the year. It's like the team is done. It's a wrap. Just no point getting mad about it, dude. So regardless of what they finish as, hopefully they can go into this year's draft and actually have a good productive 2026 draft class, because their 2025 draft class was actually dog shit. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you. Not a single person who they have drafted has made an impact at this point. They have had no good draft outside of the first two. Okay, they drafted Malachi Starks, who I'm high on, and who I hopefully in the future will see some kind of production improvement from. And then the second round they drafted Mike Green, who we haven't really seen much. At least I don't think they've used him much. But outside of that, the bulk of their 2025 draft class was absolute shit. So hopefully they can take this and they can learn from it, and they can actually have a somewhat decent, semi-decent 2026 draft. Because let's just face facts, that's probably the only way this defense is going to improve. That, and they need to get rid of their fucking defensive coordinator, Zach Orr, who I don't know how this guy still has a job at this point. This guy needs to be gone. Okay, Zach Orr needs to be, he should have been gone after last year. He should have been done. But for whatever reason, they somehow decided to, somehow this guy saved his job. Somehow the Ravens overlooked the fact that he had one of the worst secondaries in football last year. And ever since he became defensive coordinator, the Ravens have been a lackluster fucking defense. And this year proves it. How does this guy still have a job at this point? Fucking get rid of him. And John Harbaugh needs to be on the fucking hot seat too. I don't care how long he's been in the league, And I'm a John Harbaugh guy. And I'm saying this, like, stuff needs to change. Stuff needs to be addressed. Stuff needs to be changed. Things need to change, and it needs to be addressed, man. And until there is actually change on this team, nothing's going to get better. Nothing's going to improve. It's going to be the same old shit every goddamn year, man. Tired of seeing it. I'm tired of seeing it with the Orioles. I'm tired of seeing it with the Ravens. So that's why I pretty much said I'm done, with Baltimore sports for the rest of this year, So that's pretty much all I got to say for that. So those are my thoughts on those stories. So we'll see what Joe Flacco does in Cincinnati, if anything. And, yeah, the Ravens, they trade away Odafe Oweh. It's whatever. But anyway, that's all I got to say for this. So thank you for watching. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, give me your thoughts on anything I talked about here. And be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate all the support you get. With that being said, it's pretty much going to do it. So thank you for watching once again. Until next time, Russell Taco. I'm out. See you guys later. Peace.